First things first, in this training, what we are going to learn. So we will use the Google Apigee platform to design, implement, deploy, publish, and manage the, in fact, manage the whole API lifecycle and all the API access, everything. Apart from that, we will design and document API using industry standards, best practices according to REST principle, and we will use open API specification to do these things. So open API is also like open API is basically your standard for API design and documentation at present, and we will cover open API as well during the part of our training. And we will use Apigee out-of-box features or policies, as we call them, to secure APIs against traffic-based attacks and also content-based attacks. And we will use Apigee policies, inbuilt features, and custom coding both to do transformations and mashups of backend API responses into a clean and consistent API, which is adhering to the REST principles. And we will also see the Apigee API portal, and we will do the developer onboarding. So we will see how the app developer can onboard on Apigee, can create API keys, secrets, and everything, and they can consume Apigee with a live documentation. So we will see that in the live documentation with the live tracking and all. And along with that, we will have the labs. So for labs, I would need you to create a free Apigee account. Apigee account is right for 2 months, 60 days. So that's like more than enough time to do this, do all these things, do our labs and everything. And the labs, in the lab, what we'll do is we will take a use case and we'll build APIs based on that particular use case. And we will add more and more features on top of that. So we will see in reality in your enterprise environment how actually development with Apigee works. So we'll see, and that will serve as a reference material or as a template for your future Apigee development. So you can refer that API as refer that API whenever you need for your own development purposes, and you can follow the same pattern as well. These labs will reinforce our Apigee and API concepts and documentation best practices that we will learn during the training. And apart from the so there are also a section called supplemental labs. Supplemental labs are like supposed to be done by the student or attendee who is attending the training. So in that so for the labs, all the instructions are given. You have to follow that and create your add your features, add your APIs. In case you face any problem in the supplemental lab, then I would be there to help anyways. But yeah, the supplemental labs are like designed so that you do it by yourself, and in case you face problems, that I will be there. So and all the people who are going through the training, Apigee recommends that you keep that free org as like a sandbox for your future development. So if you, in case you want to do something there first, to do kind of POCs and all those stuff, that you can do on that particular org, the free organization that you have, a free account that you have, so that you can do. For Apigee, first thing that you need is to have a Apigee account, which is on the login.apigee.com. So that you will that you need to create, and then apart from after once you create that login account on Apigee, login.apigee.com, that the free org that we will use for our labs and all. And apart from that, we will need a Postman, which is a REST client. So the Postman is free, of course, so you can download it and install anywhere. So those are the two things that we would need. Apart from that, we don't need anything else. That is so yeah. And in terms of training agenda, so Apigee training is like on 24 hours. The whole duration is like 24 hours, which is like 3 full days. But we will obviously divide our hours, the training hours, as per the availability and all those stuff. So in that we will cover so the first like first 8 hours. So this is like 8 hours. First 8 hours we will learn Apigee product overview, API lifecycle, organization environments, all the concepts, and then we will see API first approach and open API specs. We will start with the REST API design principles. What are the basics of REST API design? what are the open API specs, how you design that API first approach, all these things, and then we will move to API proxies. That is the one Apigee specific things, how we build our APIs on Apigee. So we'll see what is a Apigee API proxy on Apigee Edge, what are the things like proxy endpoint, virtual host, conditions, flows, policy, target endpoints, route rules, target server. So these are the terms which are related to Apigee that we use. So we will cover those topics which are the start of the Apigee. And then we will move to the concept of API products, developer app, API keys, API product strategies, and a REST API design, which is part two of the REST API design, how to handle responses on REST. So that will be the agenda for day one. In the next day, or like sorry, initial 8 hours. In the next 8 hours, we will cover API security. API security is a very vast topic, so that's why lot more hours are given to that.
Day one means it goes to 8 hours, and day two goes to 8 hours. It means 8 to 24 hours. Is it correct?
Yeah, so we have the 3 days, so 8, 16, then next day, yeah. So kind of this thing, yeah. So next 8 hours, correct.
Yeah, thank you. The first 8 hours means first 8 days part will be going to the day one. I mean agenda day one, and remaining 8 hours mean remaining 8 days will be the going of agenda day two. I think is the correct way. I think.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Yeah. In that previous part, for the APG learning, we have to create the new account and as well as Postman installation. What are the REST APIs there now before slide?
Yeah, so yeah, only these two will be needed. So you have to get an account and then post that will be sufficient.
Postman and Apigee new account for the free account is there now. That's it.
Yeah, that you can register free account, create your free account on Apigee.
Yeah, Postman and Apigee is enough for the Apigee learning. I'm asking you that way. That's one.
Yeah, that would be sufficient. Yes.
Okay. Any, I mean, any related to SOAP UI as well as like GitHub is there?
Actually, yeah, if you can use SOAP-UI, that also is fun. But yes, actually, Postman is like the best for all the REST API and testing, the most popular. So yeah, that's the reason.
Yeah.
For to use.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
All right. So yeah. So we were discussing from next 8 hours. So we will concentrate on API security. What are the API security concerns? We will learn the concepts of identity, authentication, and authorization. We will cover OAuth introduction. OAuth is the like base for any API developer. That is like a must-have thing that you need to understand, regardless of platform, not just Apigee, but even someone want to build a API on Java or something like that. That person also needs to understand these OAuth concepts. Anyone who goes into the field of API development, Java, .NET, even anyone develop API, that is like a must-have knowledge nowadays. So you need to understand OAuth, various grant type of OAuth, client credential, password, authorization code, and other miscellaneous topics related to OAuth. So we'll cover OAuth in detail on this thing. And we will have, apart from that, we will understand JWT, JWS, SAML, and OpenID Connect. So these are the things related to API security. And then these are mostly related to authentication, authorization. Then we will learn about protecting this content-based attacks. We will also see transport layer security, one-way TLS, two-way TLS, how to do that on Apigee. Learn that. And then we will learn Apigee management security, which is more like compliance, like PCI compliance or similar compliance things, that how can we achieve with Apigee, the protecting of sensitive data and all those stuff. So that we will cover. After that, we will cover mediation, which is like working on the payload, modifying payload from one type to another type. So JSON to XML, XML to JSON, SOAP to REST conversions, those kind of use cases we will cover. We will see. And we will learn the mediation and service call out. So Apigee has this service call out feature in which you can call multiple services in this, and you can mash up the response or orchestrate, do the orchestration, create a final response, and you can give the final response to client. So those kind of things we will cover and we will see. We will learn the custom coding with JavaScript. In the free account, only JavaScript you can do. And even in the real Apigee projects, most of the things are done by JavaScript itself. I haven't done any other coding apart from JavaScript. For more than 4 or 5 years, I have not done anything else where I have to do anything else apart from
Yeah,
JavaScript. Most of the
yeah,
things,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. For that, I have to learn the JavaScript. Is it
correct.
correct?
You have to have a basic knowledge of JavaScript, correct? Yes.
Okay. For the JavaScript, you have to provide any something like about the.
I can refer you some online websites you can go and cover. So only at least the basics of JavaScript, if you can learn, that would be sufficient.
Yeah, okay, fine, okay, fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
basics of JavaScript, that is like a prerequisite, but you will have time. So it is like JavaScript will come after like at least 12 hours, after 12 hours and all. So during the training itself, if you find time, spend like a couple of hours somewhere, some other websites, just understand some basics, that would be sufficient. Because in this training, we will use JavaScript in reference to Apigee. So in context of Apigee only, we will use JavaScript, we'll see. But yeah, you have to
Okay.
just spend some time learning JavaScript, spend some couple of hours on websites. So yeah, that you can do. And then we will cover concept of shared flows, the code reusability with shared flows, and fault handling, how you can handle errors and all. And for most of the topics, we will have our labs as well. So whatever you learn, my training will be more, I will try to have less on theory because slides will be there and all the documentation is anyways there, but we will try to do as much possible labs as we can. And that is the reason, so we have a lot of labs even the training itself, and there are supplemental labs that I would need you to go through it and try to finish and learn those. And in case you face any problem with supplemental labs, obviously then I will be there. But the first thing that you have to try those labs by yourself. So those supplemental labs are
Yeah.
like later on, not in the initial. So initially it will be everything will be like completely that we'll do here, and then
Okay, okay.
supplemental
I
labs.
need some.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any query? You have any question?
yeah, yeah. Day by day, we have lab sections, or after completion of theory, we have to go lab section.
So it is like topic by topic. So
Yeah, first we will get the some theory. Next, lab.
correct.
Next,
Yeah.
theory.
So for
Yeah,
example, we will cover rate limiting, then and quotas, and then there will be lab for that. We will learn caching, and then
okay.
there will be lab for that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the better way. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So once
Yeah.
we cover the topic, you understand, and then we will use the same concept. That's the idea. Yeah. And then we will, yeah. So rate limiting, caching. Then we will cover a REST API design part three, the versioning concepts, and developer portal. We'll see Apigee live API portal how it works and all. And after that, we will do some on the what we will cover the topics of logging with stack driver analytics, API monitoring, and API security reporting. How Apigee supports that and all. And after that, there was some advanced topics like on all the APGH component and APGH deployment options. So we will cover those, all the APG offerings basically. And we will see extensions, and then we will learn some offline development CI/CD with Maven plugin. The APG has a node tool for deployment. We will cover all of those. And there are some advanced topics and advanced for lab for some advanced topics as well. So that we will cover as well. So yeah, that is like 24 hours. This will be divided into 24 hours. And yeah, at the end of it, by end of the training, I will make sure that you are ready for AP certification exam. So I will even prepare you with questions and hints, questions, everything. I will make sure that you are ready for AP certification if you want to do. So this is the certification that APG has. APG has only one certification. Right now, previously they had two. One was API level one, level two. Now it is only APT certified API engineer, and this provides you better opportunity for job growth. So, if you have a APG certification, then in the market your value will be increased as a API expert. And so on APG you can easily you can easily find either get into a project for Apigee, or if you are looking for other job, you can do that. So either your own career goes in company or looking for other options, and that would be sufficient. That would be a great booster for that. And there are some these are some links that we will use. These are some links that we have for documentation, resources, even for certification, all of them. And we will use a lot of links, especially that docs.apg.com during our course of training. So I will even help you with the finding the correct documentation for correct for all each topic. In case in the project, where do you need to look? So those some uh, specific links as and when we will cover our topics, we will even go through the look at the documentation as well. At least we'll get the correct link so that later on you can refer that during your work. Brief about the Apigee course overview. Now we will just pick of Apigee product, what exactly is product. So
And is there any technical growth in future for learning of Apigee?
in Apigee, yeah, there is a right now the market is even booming, to be honest. And after Google Cloud acquired that, there are lots of jobs on Apigee in India, also abroad, also all of there. So even all the major companies are hiring Apigee professionals. So
Yeah, my understand. But present scenario, every company will be using the own, on premises, like that own private cloud.
no, most of them are using private public cloud. Not because public cloud is a cheaper version. So most of them they
What is
at least for
what is the difference between private cloud and public cloud? Is there any similar qualities is there, or entire different thing?
in terms of difference, private cloud, sorry, in public cloud, you can integrate with some other Google Cloud services. If they have the Google Cloud account as well, they can interact with other Google Cloud services like
Sorry for that. Integration means we have to routing part.
sorry.
Integration means routing part.
Yeah, so you can because Apigee is on the same Google Cloud infrastructure, so they can easily integrate. But that feature is not available on the private cloud. Private cloud is typical Apigee use case when you have a backend microservices, backend service, and you want to expose that. That's but but that is the one which everyone uses. So in private cloud, they can manage everything on all the aspects of Apigee. They can handle everything, all the Apigee logs and everything. They can manage everything in a lot better way. I mean, just that they have more control. They have more control on administration, but in public cloud, they don't have much control on administration. But Apigee takes care of that. So it is usually like never a down. Apigee provides a good uptime, so they are not like down or anything.
But based on the terminology as well, the nomenclature is both are same, public or private.
Correct.
And as well as as well as in the private cloud, based on the microservice developer, as well as they are given the URL or whatever the base path is given. On that, on that based on that, we have to doing some modification with the local workspace. We have to go the Apigee.
Yeah. So you can use either Apigee on the UI, or you can do on the local as well. Both are fine, to be honest.
Both are fine. We can modification. We have rights on the modification. That one Apigee UI. Is there any? Yeah.
On Apigee UI, you can modify everything. So on premise as well, you will have the same account on for Apigee access, and you can modify and make changes. As it's pretty much same. There is no difference in that.
Yeah, okay, fine.
So
Um,
development remains
mm,
same regardless of the platform that you use. Yeah,
yeah, okay. Yeah, one more doubt, one more query is there. And
yeah. Yeah.
that I know some law, some basics about the Apigee. That's why I'm asking this
Mm-hmm.
similar doubt. Yeah, that means it means the suppose in one project we have to using for policies regarding the service call load policies. In the service
Mm-hmm.
call policies, uh, I think I preferred some documents. There is a map section. I mean mapping. You have to prepare the mapping document about the how to goes the response and as well as request from the service call out to backend talking point.
Mm-hmm.
You know that that's a mapping point. I mean mapping documentation.
So when you have to do mapping, usually we use JavaScript and all. We'll cover that as well in our training. Will cover that. We'll see how to do the aggregation of response, right? So multiple places you call and you prepare a final response, and how you can do that. Because there will be a combination of policies, like there will be extract variable, there will be JavaScript as well you can need, and then assign message. I mean, all kind
As
of
a message.
assign message and all those stuff. So there will be a combination of policy. We'll cover that, and yeah, we'll understand that, and even we will have a lab for the same topic. So yeah, when you do
Yeah,
it, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So we just get a idea about the product, what exactly APG offers, and what exactly problem it tries to solve. So in at present right now, in the present digital world that we have, in terms of enterprises, enterprises will have all kind of a number of different systems. So they will have ERP, SOA, database, all kind of systems and all they will have. And in order to integrate with each other, they would use some ESB or integration layer. So uh, they can use all kind of, yes, a service bus architecture. There will be they can, so that all the different components can share data and talk to each other. But now at present, if they have to go digital, they need to expose all the features as an API to the outside world. So that outside world, as in there can be smart. You can see there are like every smart devices. So that because of the IoT right now, all the devices are becoming smart. You have smart home appliances, smart home, everything, and all. And there can be the applications which can be built for various kind of users. There can be like end customer applications. There can be employee for some applications which is only for internal staff and employees. There can be applications for some partners, B2B kind of applications, some other partner companies, partner enterprises, kind of that way. So there can be
Yeah.
different kind of,
Mani,
yeah, yeah.
can you give an example like for the like this? I suggest to you like face like phone pay and SBI bank. Based on
Correct.
that, you can explain it.
Sure. So for example, for SBI Bank itself, SBI right now, so now for SBI itself, as you can see, so for SBI itself, there will be mobile app, right? So SBI will have to build a mobile app. They need to have a mobile app also for like Android application, iPhone application, all kind of this thing. And there will be their website as well, right? So website also, they have the website, and they will have the system for their own call center employees, right? The help desk employee, call center employees. So, for example, so if someone if SBI launches a new scheme, correct? So SBI launches, this is for a new scheme. I'm providing this rate, for example, okay. And the same is like for one. They need to expose the payment API, account API for PhonePe. So if someone using PhonePe, they want to integrate with the SBI, they should be able to transfer from SBI to PhonePe, or similar this thing. So PhonePe becomes like a kind of a partner or B2B kind of system, right? So PhonePe to SBI and all those stuff, right? So PhonePe can be like PhonePe or other similar systems, even other banks like SBI, SDFC. They also have to transfer data with each other for all the kind of money transfer activities, or even make a call to each other system and get the data or update the account, those kind of things, right? So all of them, there are different kind of applications, and most of them might perform the same activity, right? So for all of them, they have to expose. So in that way, so for example, if a customer is calling with the call center, correct? Customer calls call center and phone banking call center, all they will be different. So they will call the call center employees. They will say, for some reason, my account has been deducted this much money. What can you check what is happening? So the all the information which is presented by user. So the call center employee should also get the latest information about the user account, right? So they should be able to get the latest information so that they will be able to tell. Or similarly, if the user asks for a new scheme, the scheme should be available on the website, it should be available on mobile, it should be available on call center, all kind of this thing, right?
Can you compare the this back end is the SBI?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
even the back will
main.
be so even the backend will be SBI, but even the mobile app also will belong to the same company, right? So SBI will be mobile banks, right? So mobile banking, mobile apps
Yeah,
also.
yeah. But this scenario, we have to suppose assume backend is the SBI and the the consumer or whatever the client is the phone pay user. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Between those we have to work that API team, Apigee team. Between those we have to some request just the pass to the our Apigee API platform. We will pass to the that request to goes to the backend and response go to the our Apigee, and then we will pass to the that phone pay users.
Correct. So in that way, so yeah, the phone pay is you make a payment of phone pay using some UPI or something like that. So internally,
Mm.
phone pay needs to be registered as a partner for APG. In APG system, phone pay should be able to register as a partner.
So
Yeah.
so every merchant payment has the registered with the API. Apigee.
Correct. Not yeah with the SBI, but yeah, it can be APG or similar other platform. Similar, there can be gateway. Yeah. They have to have a
Okay.
registration, yes, as a partner. So APG provides this facility that you can register on board and register as a partner. The same way other either APG or some other platform. But yeah, they have to register on APG. There should be have any if, for example,
Yeah.
if SBI uses APG, they have to register on the APG platform, because APG platform will be acting as an entry gate for the this thing for SBI. Okay,
Yeah.
so SBI will have this thing, and what value APG brings, right? So the thing that APG brings to here is that you can provide your API with proper security. Okay, so only the valid persons, and you can control who is calling. So it is not that some unregistered person can simply make a call and all those stuff. So APG provide all the latest security mechanism. APG supports all the latest security mechanism. OAuth, OpenID, Connect, SAML, everything is supported with all of them. So they will register whenever they will make a call. APG will take care of. So APG works mostly on the non-functional requirement. So when there are a requirement for any APIs or anything, so there will be a backend API. So backend also
Non-functional requirement means.
security, scalability, managing of clients, right? So all the different clients, perform analytics, and providing what you call as a connected experience, so that all the different kind of application, different kind of partners, devices, internal, external, all kind of systems, they should be able to get the latest information, all the data to them, all the data coming or going should be consistent. So if one system is updating anything, the same should be available for the other from other channels or other systems, correct? So all
Yeah.
these kind of things which are there, so these things are taken care by APG. That's what.
Okay.
So all the things which functional requirement basically is your functionality, correct? Actual functionality that is done by a backend API. So on the backend, there will be an API or some web service. Okay, it can be REST service or SOAP service or a microservice, anything. It can talk to the backend actual database that will talk. APG will never talk to your database or something like that. APG will always call something which is on HTTP or HTTPS on a backend system. Okay, so backend has to be a web service or an API. Okay, but APG just is a kind of exposure layer where it will manage all the client partner registration, OR tokens and all those stuff, and it will be it will take care of caching and all those stuff. So improve performance. So performance, security, scalability, what you say, fault tolerance, those kind of things are pretty much your non-functional requirements. Those are not, no one like specifies that in the dictionary. This is something that is like given that you have to assume and take care of. So all those things that APG will take care. So you don't have to worry about how can I expose this service to outside world. You know, APG will take care of everything to make sure that whatever you only concentrate on building functionality. Once you are done with the building functionality, then you don't have to worry about rest. APG will make sure that all the security compliance and the related things are taken care of. So that's it.
Okay. If suppose we
Because
used
Mhm.
microservices for the backend,
Yeah.
yeah, then will be process will be easy. I mean, think they are developed some number of URLs like your base path. You will the based on that URLs you will integrate the integration part is done with the help of Apigee. You know,
Yes,
it is
correct.
correct.
Yeah. So yeah, that will be exposed to a consumer, and then whoever want to consume the API, we can make the call, can do the registration and make the call.
Yeah.
So this is what. So all the enterprise systems. Other, if you want to do everything as a scratch, everything from the on the enterprise, if you want to build from the scratch, it might take years for them, correct? And right now, all the outer systems which are there, which are not there, you see, for them they can build all the new innovation apps, innovative apps and everything within few days. They don't want to wait for like 1 year or 2 year kind of this thing, right? So if you want to bring all the innovative, go for digital transformation, you need to have things like APG that will make it a lot faster. And one thing that we use the term called is time to market. So you have conceptualized an idea. Okay, so do you conceptualize, or have you decided I want to bring this feature into the life, right? So from the time you conceptualize, you have the initial discussion. From that time up to live, getting it live. Okay, that time to market with APG, the time to market is very low. So within few weeks and all, you can quickly build and you can quickly bring it to market. If you don't use APG, you want to do a lot of spend. So there you have a lot. You need a lot of manpower, lot of infrastructure, lot of coding. You know, there will be a lot of headache, and it will take a lot of money, and it will also take a lot of time compared to what you the value that you get in APG. So that's the reason the APG, which is like ready made for all these use cases, you can simply plug and play, bring it with any system, and you can make it available outside. Okay. So that's what. So APG, yeah, bridges the gap between enterprise and with all these outer world applications and partners. You can make it available for consumption. This becomes like entry point to your system. Okay, so that anything, even the other internal systems, because there will be a lot of other internal systems as well. Whenever they have to communicate, ideally would want everything to talk to each other via APG. So that way, you know that all these security, scalability, all kind of things are taken care of. So you don't have to worry, and you will make sure the systems are available. Because you have to remember one thing: for banking systems, for banking, they can compromise on functional requirements. So if the functionality doesn't work, for them it will be fine. But if security is not in place, then it is a very big risk. So because you know, if there is a small security issue, and it can leak a lot of data, and it can damage, cause a lot of damage. So for banking systems, even the especially the non-functional requirements are sometimes more and more important and critical as compared to the functional requirement kind of this thing. So that's why it's very important. And with APG, we implement something, we call it as digital value chain. So now what exactly we mean by that? So for example, on the enterprise level, there is a backend, right? So there is a backend, some database is there, and there is a lot of data. But then there is a API team. So there is a team which builds an API or microservice, a REST API or microservice. The team will build that, and once the team builds a microservice, then it is exposed via your APG. So this is the layer which is APG Apigee involved. So Apigee will expose it, make it available for developer. So developer will build mobile app, okay, mobile apps, and then it will mobile app is used by a person who is not a technical person, correct? So it can be a lawyer, it can be doctor, it can be any non-technical person, a farmer or a student who is like a non-technical person. So that
Okay.
can right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that way
Which
we make
I mean, which yeah, customer
yeah
app developer API team backend for file intersection is there.
yeah
Suppose I have to work in some company, which area I have to work the API or API team only. I think
no no this API layer. API team, when we were talking about this API team, this is like a microservices or REST API development, and then this is the API enablement team,
as a
kind of it
Apigee
will enable
developer, I have to work in a yeah.
yeah this layer API layer.
As a Apigee developer, I have worked on the
Correct,
API layer,
API layer.
API layer. Okay.
Gateway, yeah, API or gateway or API gateway team or
Okay.
management. So that's where we usually come into
Okay.
picture. So yeah, this thing, and a good example of a connected app is like, so a very good example that we think is Facebook, right? So you upload your picture on your mobile, correct? From your mobile you upload your picture on Facebook. At the same time, if you log in from laptop, you will see your picture is it's there, this thing. Your picture is available, uh, your picture is available for at the same time it is available for everyone to view. So that is mean by connected experience. At the same instance, it will not make like a difference that it is taking a lot of time or it will take few minutes. It's pretty once you update from one channel, other channel, from other channel, you will see it is instantly it is reflected. That is what we mean by a digital value chain or connected experience. So that with this, so you can see this is more like an enterprise level system with backend API team and all those stuff. And you can see each layer is adding a value, correct? API team takes care of functional requirement. This API takes care of non-functional requirement. Then there is the developer who will build mobile app and all those stuff. Now on APG platform, so
Uh, Based on the consumer or client requirement, we can use the non-functional, I mean non-functional paths. Suppose consumer ask to the you have to create the some high security for this my future. Then we have to implement the Apigee UI. Is the correct way?
yeah. So if there is a so all the non-functional requirement like security and all those stuff, security, performance, and all those things is provided by APG.
Okay. Then what about the API team do?
They will just like build a API which is like they will talk to database or something at the business logic. So it will have the business logic, basically the business logic and a little bit of validations. That's it. But everything else is like maintained on it.
But API work, I mean, as a APG developer, work goes to the based on the client requirement only. I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay, based on the client requirement, and have to refer the API team. What are the requirement? What are the I mean, what are the I think what are the that one is the inputs are given by the API team. We can
Correct.
add
Request
the
response.
APG.
Yes, whatever. So yeah, all the request response detail schema, everything will be there, and then we add our functionality on top of it.
Okay, okay. Then will goes the response to the consumer.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Then there is this APG has certain features here which is provided. So one is like for developers, APG has API catalog. APG has also a developer portal system. This thing on the developer portal, we will study developer portal as well during the course of training. So you can provide API catalog, all the APIs which are available on APG. You provide the catalog, which also acts like a marketplace. All the APIs which are available, you can check that. Check all the design, the complete API design, all the input, output, request, response, everything. What is there? You can provide API as an offering to developers. So for the consumer, if you want to build, so for example, Twilio is a very good example, right? Twilio. provides all these APIs for SMS and all those stuff, right? Twilio and all similar. You can so Twilio, their whole business is based on API. Whole revenue is based on API. So if you want to generate a revenue from your API program, but it has to be very good, very stable in that case. Your API should be like fully functional, properly secured. Everything should be there. Okay, so kind of this thing. Then you can even try to generate revenue. API provides facility. In case you want to generate revenue, you can use monetization feature as well. So all those things are there. Apart from that, APG has analytics. So analytics reports are there. So for every stakeholder, for developer, consumer developer, there will be engagement metrics. For API program person, like the product manager, program manager, those kind of person, they can have the business metrics, operations for operations by operational metrics. The whole API program metrics is there, monitoring, alerting. All these things are there as part of analytics. So it is quite useful tool. For all kind of for different stakeholders. Then APG has a something called mediation engine, which actually is nothing but your actual uh, uh, processing engine, where actual processing happens. So in the mediation engine, you can take care of security, you can take care of transformation, you can connect to different extensions like GCP extensions and all. You can do orchestration, which
Yeah,
is like
mediation
service
engine
call
means
out.
the functionality required. So
Sorry,
mediation engine means actual work we have to do
actual
that
work, yeah,
based on the client security. What? Yeah.
correct. Yeah, actual functionality, right? The actual
Yeah.
activities that it was processing. And yeah, API
Okay.
abuse prevention, all those kind of things can be done on mediation. Then different kind of runtime is there. So there is enterprise gateway. Enterprise gateway, both private cloud and public cloud, both come under this. So enterprise gateway where the actual APG processing happens. Enterprise gateway. So they have the whole either both of them come under enterprise gateway. Private cloud is also enterprise gateway. Public cloud is also enterprise gateway. Then APG has a new concept of hybrid gateway. We will cover hybrid as well in detail, where like some component of APG is on Google Cloud hosted, which is hosted on APG, some component is on the on the client infrastructure. So it's like a hybrid client of this thing. We will cover that in detail as well. Then there is a micro gateway. It is a Node.js based system. So it is usually when you have microservices and your consumer is also internal, you use that micro gateway as it will talk to your APG or APG account and APG organization and analytics, but some very basic features. We will cover micro gateway as well. We will see that in later. Then there is APG has Istio adapter. So Istio is a microservices platform actually. So microservices management platform. So if there are microservices and people are using Istio, APG has a Istio adapter. So Istio is a different technology altogether. Just that APG has provided a kind of integration with Istio. So with that you can talk to it easily integrate with the Istio based microservices. And then there are hosted targets, which APG provides only on the public cloud. It is not available on private cloud. So hosted target is like for hosting Node.js. So for Node.js code, if someone is integrating Node.js with APG, APG provides this hosted target environment where you can host your Node.js code and APG will call Node.js as a target. And we will cover that as well during our course of training. You will understand how this APG Node.js integration works and all that we'll see. So these are different kind of runtime. They will solve specific use cases. On the APG edge level, there are certain components. So the component of the product itself, one is the core gateway component, which will talk to the client and it will implement the policies or run the policy, and it will talk to the backend. Then apart from that, there is a Cassandra, which is a product database. Then there is something called analytics services. Analytics services are like when for analytics the deals with the analytics component with reportings and all those stuff. Then there is a management service, which is the API management service. So the whole APG platform, all the APG administration activities can be performed using this management API. So the whole platform is available as an API. We will cover that. This is just a very high level overview. So the whole platform you can say is available as an API. All the APG platform administration tasks, how you want to update anything in the platform level, that you can do with the management API. Provided that you have org admin access, you need to have the org admin access for that. So it's like then APG has this Edge UI is what we will use for all the development activity and all. So it is Edge UI is the UI which we can manage the whole APG thing, the whole APG platform for us. our organization. And then there is a developer portal component, which again internally deals with the management API. It onboards the consumer developer. You publish all these things. We will cover developer portal as well in detail, and we will see how it deals with that. And, these are the same referencing that we have seen. And here then there are so these Apigee this is a very new offering on Apigee, which is hybrid API management. So it's pretty much like some clients want to have the API runtime, basically the API traffic that goes from there within the client network. So with the API runtime, but management thing, so API management, UI, dashboard, everything you can use from the Google Cloud. So that is the offering which Apigee has hybrid. And these Apigee internal systems which are on the client, these are based out of Kubernetes. So it is like Kubernetes based system. So clients just have to install Kubernetes, and it will take care of all this. Apigee components will take care of this, all the runtime traffic, you know. So that's like some part on GCP, some part on client hosting. So it's like a hybrid. Previously, Apigee only supported either fully cloud or fully client hosted. Now Apigee is promoting this hybrid as well, but it is not that popular now. It is pretty much a new offering, and they, because of sometimes because of the compliance issues and all those stuff. So it's people have some kind of hesitation to use. They prefer to use the private cloud if they have any compliance detections. But the cloud also is very popular. Most of the clients actually have used cloud. Even all the banks, I have worked for banking system, in banking and payment, they are using Apigee cloud version and without any issues. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you for this one. Right now, I have based on this, I have knowledge about the Apigee overview. What is that? What is the use of a present scenario, what is the of a present situation? How they are consuming plot and how they are implementation of the API team or as well as the Apigee developer. Yeah, it's better.
So yes, I think then you can have further discussion with GoLogica.
Yeah. Okay. It's better. Yeah, thank
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, so basically, this is the this training is designed for hands-on Apigee implementation. I can even provide you a specific training and emphasize on the topics if you want to go for uh, Apigee certification later on. So that I can try to emphasize on those topics mainly as well, and if not, that's also fine. So basically this is Apigee. So it's an API gateway now acquired by Google Cloud. So usually it's a middleware which sits between API consumer and the backend. And so this is like you have a background. If you already have a background about some other tool and all, that's also all right. If you don't, then still not a problem. Only prerequisites basically will be you should understand HTTP, REST, JSON, and some basic stuff. If you know these things, then we are covered. Not no problem. But I will still even in that training, also my training schedule, we are going to have some time to cover all these topics as well. So that's also all right. Apigee has a free account, so I would assume you guys can go and register for your free accounts on Apigee website, and that is what we will need. And for testing purpose, we can use a Postman REST client, and that should be all right. So there is not much in terms of preparation for you. And whenever we cover the topic on Apigee, we'll try to cover from the basics. So even if you don't know anything, I can cover those, so that won't be a problem. And these are the
one question: can we get an hands-on OAuth here in Apigee?
yes. So we will have lab sessions for OAuth, and also that will be good. Okay. So that will be there. Uh, so these are like overall training modules if I can divide. So basically, we'll start with REST fundamentals, then APG Edge basics concepts and APG Edge products, and then we'll move to APG Edge security, the security things, which features of security out of box features. So we'll cover OAuth and traffic management, like rate limiting and other rate limiting and spike arrest features. And then we move to another things like shared flows, fault handling, how we handle fault, how we can do mashup and orchestration on APG, how it works with caching. And then we will also have Node.js. So I will cover Node.js from the basics. We will not have too advanced coverage, obviously. So we'll cover basics of Node.js and all those stuff, how you can build any API using Node.js and uh, deploy on APG, and how we can uh, add APG capabilities on top of that, that we will see. And then the next part will be analytics and logging. These are very important non-functional requirements basically, and how APG Edge caters to those, and how it can still be compliant to various policies of an organization. What are the features available, that we will see. And after this product, so other thing is that life cycle and management. So how you can manage API life cycle, how you can define APG on a standard API specs using open API specification, and what are the APG has a deployment plugins and tools. So we will also do a do a deployment using a CI/CD or Maven. APG has a Maven plugin, so we'll do the Maven plugin, and we'll see how this can be embedded into a CI/CD for any organization. And then we'll check the testing, mocking, and the continuous integration. So the overall life cycle and governance and all that we will cover as well. So usually in that 3-day training, the way we covered is in day one, we cover fundamentals and APGS products and shared flows in day one, which again in the initial 8 hours. Then second day will is usually the next 8 hours are more practical oriented. So we have security, OAuth, and a lot of security things, and a lot of lab sessions will be there for different security mechanisms. We will have then traffic management, fault handling. So there will be bunch of labs, and also that's why in day two there are only 3 topics, because there will be a lot of labs on especially in this thing. And then in day three we have mashup, caching, logging, analytics, Node.js, and other important stuff. So the last portion, it's a the last portion, like open API specification and all those stuff. These are more of a theory and less of practical and all. Only thing that is what we can do in practice will be the deployments using Maven and all those stuff, and how it works, that we can test. Other things are more on a theoretical point of view, how what are the tools available, how you can integrate. But we will cover all those things. So these are like the topics that are covered. So there are a lot of labs which will be there. And APG during our course of training, this is APG Edge. One is APG Edge Management API. The whole product is available as an API. So we will see management APIs and how to utilize management APIs. And another very important is going to be APG documentation link. So we will refer a lot during our training session to these two, so that we can see these topics in depth. We can go through some properties, and we can understand these features in depth. So we will cover a lot of this. And this is and these are some other things which is available on APG. So on APG, all the labs are also available on this all these websites, APG labs and all those stuff. These are available. APG resources, and APG has a lot of examples as well. It is available on GitHub, so you can check that out. Documentation. So APG has a lot of online resources, and we can check. And whenever when you also get your time in for reference purpose, you can have a look at those as well. So this is in a nutshell, this is about the whole APG developer training program. So this was just a brief slide on the this training and all those stuff. So you have any doubts now? So next thing I will prepare. I will send you the in-depth schedule timings. I would let you guys. I mean, come up and decide. But I will give you the day-wise breakup in depth. How much time we are going to spend on which uh, subject. Some of them would include lab time as well. I'm not going to specify like I have like 30 minutes of theory and 30 minutes of lab. Uh, I will just give the topic name, and automatically many of these topics would include lab sessions as well. So so that will be a more in-depth breakup of topics that I can provide, and then you can let me know which time suits you, and then we can see what can be done and how we can schedule it. So yeah. Any questions in that, or you, if you have any specific requirements in training or anything that you want to understand, then you can let me know.
Manish, this is very good. So the course is Edge Developers, right?
Yeah.
What is there any other? What other courses are available? Other, if I want to know more. So this is, I believe, will be the fundamental. Like if I want to do more hands-on, get a career in APG,
That would be
what
a
is it?
This
at least I can.
conference will now be recorded.
So yeah, at least I can cover this slide for today, and then we can check later. So this is very basic. So this will be just a product overview. What exactly is the concept of an API gateway, what it is supposed to do, and why actually we need API gateways and all those stuff, and what Apigee Edge provides to a consumer. So the for any feature which is now going to be exposed via internet, the core design principle remains API first. So we previously we did this service oriented architecture and all those stuff which had its own flaws, drawbacks and all those stuff. Now what we want to do is, because of the ever changing requirements, we want to focus our whole product design or whole enablement of features as an approach known as API first approach or API first design. So there are two parts to that. One is the app consumption. So basically for all the apps that are developed right now, because we have variety of platforms, variety of devices, variety of channels uh, for any organization or for any company. So and they build a lot of apps for them. In order, you cannot keep all the business logic in the app, so they need to call certain APIs. And so for apps, there should be API adaptations which should be there, and it will also enable developers for business. So if a company is exposing any API, developers can build their own app, and they can then enable their own business for multiple reasons. A lot of developers use Facebook API, Google API, and all those stuff, right? So and they build apps based on top of those, and they carry on with their own business and try to generate revenue on top of that. And as we are talking about these things, another important concept here is security for app to API. So from app who is going to consume API, if anyone can start consuming API, they can bombard it with like thousands of requests within a second or something, and they can try to bring the server down, right? So we need to make sure that security provisions are in place properly, so that whenever the app is calling, so app should be authenticated and app should be authorized to make those API calls. So for example, if an app who is supposed to make a call to SMS API, that app does not call payment API, right? So a proper authentication authorization is to be placed, proper rate limits should be there, and other security measures should be in place. And obviously, whenever someone is making going to call an app, we need to have a behavioral analytics. This is a very important and at the same time quite underrated thing which people don't realize, because the how much success is your API program and how good an app is doing, how many apps are consuming, who is using, from where they are using, which kind of devices are using. It is very important to know. And how you get that information? Obviously, at one place it is going to be analytics, right? So you can draw all your charts, you can see all their behaviors, and that will be very good proof to define success or failure, or even draw the future strategies regarding your API programs, right? So this is where analytics becomes very important, because it has a lot of business value. All the other things are not I mean, all the other things, if you want to showcase the success, the only way to showcase the success is by having the proper data, and only analytics will give you the proper data for how good or bad it is, and then you can chart your strategy accordingly. So this is one point from app to API. Another one will be to between having a backend service, any feature, and enabling or exposing that as an API. So on the backend you have a service or microservice, it can be soap, anything. Now you want to expose it as a feature so that others can consume it. So you need to first thing you need to do is, the APIs are architected for abstraction. The abstraction meaning the person who is going to consume, for them the API gateway is the server. They don't know what API gateway is going to talk, or where it is calling and all those stuff, right? So the backend details should be hidden. They should not know what is the database in use, what is the technology in use, and all those stuff. It should be agnostic to those, right? So for them, they are sending a request via HTTP. They are sending a kind of JSON. They are expecting a JSON. That's it, and they are setting all that headers and all those stuff and all. So that's it. They should not. It should not matter if your backend changes from one platform to another platform and all those stuff. So it should be properly abstracted. And obviously it should enable developer for API use. So it should have a very good developer onboarding process. So developer ideally there is a developer portal. We will also cover this as it is not given in the list of topic, but we will cover the overall developer experience as well using Apigee API portal. So we'll see that. So there should be an API portal or a developer portal available for app developers, so they can register themselves. They can select which API they want to use, and they can get their client ID secrets and all those stuff very quickly, and they can make API call. They can start consuming, and they can get these things. Okay, how and they can simply start developing. And because the success of API program also depends on how easily developers are able to integrate their apps into your APIs. That is going to be a key factor, right? And another the next point is important point is the security for your API to your backend. So backend would be backend is going to be exposed only to your gateway layer. It is not going to expose for all those mobile apps and all those stuff, right? Only your gateway is they are going to consume something on the API gateway, and then your API gateway or API management platform talk to backend. So in that way, the security between app to API is different from how your API gateway talks to your backend service or backend API. So there would be like two-way TLS and other different mechanisms which are in place, and we will see those in depth when we cover those topics and all those stuff. And another important aspect is going to be API analytics. API analytics means what is the success rate, what is the error rate from backend, what is the latency from backend, and all those stuff. So you can get all this information, which APIs are getting called more. So that way you can define, okay, let's have a separate business proposition for this API and all those stuff. So you can define all the strategy the same way as I mentioned the importance of analytics. So the analytics is very, very important, because that is the only place where you can get the it will be a source of truth for your data. You can see how it works. So in that sequence diagram which is given there, you will see analytics is like having the last very large. So because app to your backend service, everything at every layer, and you will have some analytics in place, so that it will showcase how your apps are doing, how your API are doing, how your backend is getting connected and how it is doing. So it will do. So basically, your app, it will talk to your app server. This is the API, and then obviously this app server will talk to your backend service. So this is where APIs. So whenever you want to expose a feature, now you want to create them into microservices and expose them API, so that these are independent. They are not part of a your standard monolith system, and you can easily manage those, and it can cater to a different kind of devices and all those stuff, and then we will see how it is done. So basically an intelligent Apg talks a lot about or even the marketing or pre-sales guys from Apg, they talk a lot about something called digital value chain. So the digital value chain basically means whenever there is a so you have a backend. From backend you build an API or build a service microservice. Okay, so there will be an API team involved. So this API team is adding some value on top of your backends, because backend contains raw data. Then it will have some functionality. Then there is an API gateway here. API gateway adds some more value. It can add security, OAuth, rate limiting, and all those stuff. It will add more things, and then there will be a developer, and developer will build apps which are give you connected app experience. Now, what exactly we mean by connected experience? So, very simple example if we take, right? So you just upload a picture from your mobile to your Facebook account, right? So you upload a picture from your mobile device to your Facebook, and if you open your web on the browser, if you open Facebook website and log in there, you will see that your picture is there, and that is what you mean by connected experience. So there will be different apps on different platform, but you are performing any activity at one place. You, as long as you are connected via other, it should be reflected to that separate platform, right? So that is uh, uh, the that is the benefit of having the digital value chain. So because if there is API, there is only a single place where they are all of them are going to call. So mobile app will call the same API. Your web app also will call the same API, right? So because they are going to go through the same channel, it is very much likely that they will always have the latest data, and there won't be any problem from a end user perspective. So that is the uh, feature of or benefit of having an intelligent API platform. So it has all the tools and technologies available to enable the digital value chain. Any questions as such, or
No, we're good.
okay?
I'm
So
good.
yeah, let's okay. No problem. So yeah, just going ahead now. So now, as we just talked about connected digital experience, right, and connected experience. So previously, what used to happen if you're in your various integration platforms, right? Integration there would be like your CRM, SOA, database, and all those stuff. Those will have their own pace of change, right? So previously they would take their time, they will decide on all those stuff, from one system to another system, transfer data. You have an agreement, okay, by XML, JSON, file system, whatever, they will have their integrations and all those stuff. Those will be there. But the traditional IT, it was not that easy, because the operations and all would need some maintenance. And if someone want to consume something which is on say a soap service, right? Soap service, you will send an email. A very simple example, you will send an email to that team's operations. They will configure you your soap web service, whatever WSSC username, password. They will then make they will take their 1 day 2 day to provision. They will give it to you. You will then your developers will try. They will face any problem. Then it takes like almost 1 week. Sometimes in the big organization, the way it works, it will be a lot of mails. It will take 1 week just to have a proper access to that particular service and all those stuff, right? And so the things were not moving that fast, right? But nowadays the changes are going to be very fast, because there are a lot of different channels. You see with advent of your IoTs and all those stuff, right? You have small smart watches, houses, all this stuff, right? And your mobiles. Now even mobiles are becoming more of a traditional thing. Everyone is trying to go to different kind of devices and everything, right? And number of devices. Plus you're also channels. So you have to you are going to have apps which are meant for call center employees. You are going to have something, some data which you are going to transfer to your partner channels, for your internal employee apps, for your end customers, right? So there will be a lot of people and who are going to access the same kind of data for their various purposes, right? And even the end customers can access via different channels. So you can imagine how difficult it will be if we go by the standard traditional model. You cannot create the you cannot try to create the same way of in the credentials in the same way and take that much time in all those stuff. It becomes a lot difficult, and many of them would have problem with because xmls and all those stuff were very big, or these files are very big. How can we do that and all those stuff? So there will be a lot of things. Plus you need to add non-functional requirements. If you see, so you need to make sure that they are secure because they are exposed on internet. The security is the first thing that comes to mind. They should be able to scale up or scale down to cater to those various channels and cater to, like, if there is any increase in the request or increase in demand, they should be able to scale up. And there should be able to manage and govern the life cycle. So which api is going, which you want to discontinue for whatever reasons and all those stuff, that you can govern the whole life cycle. And then you obviously most important will be, for the business point of view, most important should be analytics, right? Because all the data, there are a lot of data transferred. How you get the clear picture, how you draw your future strategy, you can do analytics. And obviously the connection, so all of them should be connected via same channel. Because they are connected via same platform, they will always have the same experience in terms of getting the latest data. They all the updates would be able to propagate it to the correct consumers in the same way, in a very easy, without any problem. So this is what actually Apigee Edge provides. So all the, if you see from this, all these non-functional requirement, this is what you get in Apigee Edge. And that way it will add your speed of innovation. You can innovate faster. You can do a scalability. And because Apigee Edge is distributed, so you can make sure that your data is not getting lost, because there is no single point of failure. So it will avoid having a single point of failures and all those stuff, because data is distributed and all those stuff. So this is the way Apigee Edge bridges the gap between a traditional IT model and the new digital transformation, or digital revolution, if you want to say. So now talking about Apigee Edge services. So there are three main services which Apigee Edge provides. Okay, so if we go from bottom, the first one is API services. So API services, so API team will build some API. When I say API, basically I'm talking about microservice or some SOAP service, or it can be another standard REST service. So there will be APIs and API gateway. Apigee Edge will have API gateway features. API gateway features is basically adding rate limiting, throttling, and all those stuff. You can add policies, programmability. You can add your custom programming. You can have OAuth security, and obviously versioning and governance. So all these things Apigee provides as out-of-box features. So that is one part. Another part is developer service. It is very important. Once you make an API available, how are you going to communicate with the consumers? So you need to make sure that proper documentation is there. Okay, there would be a platform where they can do a self-service model, so they can register, they can get the credentials within few seconds or few minutes, and they can make API calls to start some integration. They can play around with sandbox and all those stuff. So all of them. So it provides a developer portal, and have a Apigee has smart docs and monetization. So monetization is used in the specific use cases when you want to uh, generate revenue from the API. When API becomes a way to generate a revenue, so you can do that one. You can integrate with monetization services. So that is from developer. And third is obviously that analytics. So analytics, you can have a developer analytics who are going to consume your the developers who are going to develop apps. So for their analytics, you can have operations and business matrices. You can have app performance, and then you can also generate custom reports uh, based on certain criteria you want. So these are the three core features or three core offerings with APGH provides as a service. So these slides are nothing but just a bit more detail about this thing. So first, API services. So you some examples like protocol transformation. So like SOAP to REST, XML to JSON, those kind of things. You can do that. Then you can have you can optimize high performance using caching and all those stuff. You can make sure that your APIs are properly versioned and all those stuff. And you can also govern, as I mentioned, you can uh, have API decommissioning and all those stuff also in place. And then you have security and protection of the key system. And because no product can provide you all the things in one place, so you want to add some custom coding and programming, there should be easy way to integrate. So you can add some scripting on top of that. So all these things are there. You can do that. And so we will cover this later on, but this is just a view where these are just logical representation. So proxy endpoint is the portion which is exposed to the consumer. Okay. And target endpoint is the portion which is in the same API. Proxy, we have two endpoints. One is proxy endpoint. Proxy endpoint basically is consumer facing. Target endpoint is the one which faces the target backend. APG as an API gateway can only call to a service which is available on HTTP or HTTPS. It cannot call something like a message queue or something like that, or database and all those stuff. It cannot call that. So the MuleSoft like has an any point connection where you can integrate with non-HTTP things, right? But APG is specifically API gateway, so it can only call if the backend is available as an API or web service, a SOAP web service or something. And next is analytics. So you have we have the dashboards where you can check the traffics and all those stuff. You can customize reports. You can export the data. So you obviously, if there is another reporting mechanism or another analytics platform, so you can export it and see it from there. And then there is app analytics, so where you can get end-to-end view of everything. What is coming from the app, what is going to back, and what is coming from back, and all those stuff. So you can see this. So this is just a bit more detail. So from app analytics, you can see app performance, app usage, how is it getting used, API performance. You can filter by app, you can filter by device, platform, operating system, all those stuff. You can do a lot of filtering. From developer, you can check what are the top developers who are building a lot of apps. Developer engagement, how uh, how uh, how much call they are making, are they making it faster, I mean, are there too many requests, or they are not getting engaged properly and they have just built an app and they have forgotten those things. You can find how many top API users, top products, top apps, all those things you can find here. API analytics, API traffic pattern, API performance, whichever is having least of latency and all those stuff. Response time should be low, or if any anomalies, geolocation from where it is getting called and all. So a lot of things you can check in terms of API analytics in this thing. And next is developer service. So obviously you can have API documentation. APG supports open API specs also. Previously it only supported smart documentation or WADL. Now you can have open API as well, so you can easily create documentation based on open API specs if you have. And then another important aspect is self-service API adoption. So as I mentioned in the some time back in example, that it used to take many days to get the proper credentials and all those stuff. So with everything, if everything becomes self-service, you just give them link, you can go register, check the documentation every place. So developers can do their bit, they can get the credentials, they can make API call, and it will free up your time for the API developers who can spend more time on building your APIs, and rather than just supporting developers. And then it will reduce a lot of emails, unnecessary emails, and unnecessary problems and all those stuff. Then you can build a community around that. So all the developers, you can have a troubleshooting guide who can ask questions. You can provide all the answers for the issues that or FAQs and all those stuff. You can build that, and then developer can see their own analytics from the portal. How good are their apps? What they are doing, and then they can monetize if there is a business model available to monetize the APIs. So they can do the monetization. So this is one example of a developer portal. So you can have the documentation sandbox, everything, all the things which a consumer needs from an API, everything is there. So you can create your account, you can create your, get your credentials, you can select which APIs you want for your app, you can select and all those stuff. So this is much, it's pretty much equivalent to what you get on a Google if you register as a developer to Google and select which APIs you want and all those stuff. Or the similar to you can do on Facebook, you can go to Facebook developer and you can get an account. So the similar concept is applied here, and all the things which a developer want from a consumption point of view, those things are available on the developer portal. So this is a bit about this. So you can do some additional rating on why you want APIs, why, and there are some links available. You want, you can have a look at this. So it gives you if from if you want to understand what is API management, why at all you need APIs and all those stuff, you can go through them and you can study. So yeah, that is so that is a product overview that we have covered, I think. So now so we had covered organization. Moving to the environments part. So environment obviously is a runtime context for API execution. We need to deploy a proxy into an environment in order to consume it and I mean, yeah, consume it, run that API code and call it from somewhere. And so in the environment, first thing will be the deployment. So the proxy, shared flow, and extensions, all of them, they must be deployed on the specific environment in order to be consumed. Until unless they are deployed to an environment, you cannot call them. Then but proxy name, shared flow name, and the extension name, all of them must be unique on the whole organization level. So their name must be unique. However, the deployment is done on the environment. Then in terms of connectivity, so to connect from client to Apigee. So in order to connect client to Apigee, we have to create virtual host. So virtual hosts are created in the environment. Okay, in the virtual host, you specify the protocol, HTTP or HTTPS. You specify the domain name and you specify the port. And then for this thing, by default for Apigee hosted cloud. So in Apigee, whenever we are using Apigee hosted one, even in our trial org, even in our trial account, Apigee will provide two virtual hosts in every environment. One is known as default, another one is known as secure. So the default is on HTTP and secure is on HTTPS. And they use a standard domain name. And the pattern is your org name hyphen environment name .apg.net. So these are automatically created and provided by Apigee. And for HTTPS, Apigee has its own wildcard certificate, so they can use that and create it. And the customers usually create one or more C names for that apg.net address. So we have to get more than like we can create multiple C names, and we can create our own virtual host. So in the paid org, you're allowed to add more virtual hosts. You can create more virtual hosts for your various environments. So and for your dev, you can have API dev dot company.com. For API test, you can have API-test.company.com. For API sit.company.com. Kind of this thing you can have. For each of domain, you have to create a virtual host. So in the virtual host, it will allow you to allow the request to come to that particular domain. So that is on the virtual host side. So virtual host to host the Apigee, to put your Apigee host name. So this is where your Apigee host will be connected or will be listening. And then for connecting to target, we have the concept of target servers. So target servers we create so that we uh, uh, create a configuration for the backend host, backend port, and any certificates required for backend connectivity. Those things are specified in the target server. And Apigee allows the load balancing feature on the backend calls. We will cover this thing later in the detail as well. We will have a separate section for target server. We will cover all these things what we do. And then Apigee has the key store and trust store. So key store and trust stores are used to store TLS certificate, private keys, and all this stuff. So key store will store the certificate and trust store on the of the Apigee layer, and trust store will have the certificate of the either backend or yeah, most likely the backend or third party server where we are going to call Apigee. Sorry, which we are going to call from Apigee. So the other party. So key store is the Apigee thing. A trust store is for the other party, which we are going to call from Apigee. So yeah, so those things are there. We will cover these things, all of them in detail later on. This is just, as I said previously, is just to get an idea about these terms, that what are these terms. And then in the environment, there is configuration where in the environment, you can have key value maps. And in the key value map, you can have environment level configuration. So that is the most common thing, that consider your key value map as your equivalent to a properties file. In any programming language, we have the properties file or config file, which we create on the base of the environment. So for dev environment, some information will be same, some will be different. For test and QA environment, some will be same, some will be different, and all those stuff. So usually we get a properties file, we read all of those, and yeah, on the runtime these will be used. The same concept Apigee has for key value maps. So the environment level properties, anything, a configuration, all the configuration for that specific environment you put in the key value map. Then we have the concept of flow hooks. Flow hooks will allow the shared flow to be attached to all the proxies of the environment. So if you want a shared flow to be executed for all the proxies on the environment, then you can create a flow hook. So it is I mean, this is a very rare scenario. You don't need that particular shared flow for all the proxies, because something might be different. But if there is a scenario which happens like that, you have to use that if you have to use that particular shared flow for all of them, then you can create a flow hook. So that is used. So sometimes people think like security logging, those kind of things you can put in the flow hook. Then we have the resource file. So resource file allow sharing of the code between proxies in the environment. So again, in the environment level, you can create a resource file like a Java file or a JavaScript file, and that file can be referenced from any proxy within the environment. So those things also Apigee supports. So if you want to have a single file which can be shared across or referenced, you can do that. Now for runtime data, when the API calls comes, so Apigee has the feature of caching. So you can create a cache resources on Apigee, and those cache resources are used to cache any data. And caching obviously is like one of the standard features of Apigee, or it is a standard for any API gateway. Any API gateway, it is a standard gateway use case. So on any gateway, you can do the caching, and with the help of caching, you can improve performance to the great extent. So things which might take like even 4,000 milliseconds might even be done in 300 or 200 millisecond kind of this thing. Or even 800 millisecond, you can do it in 40, 50 milliseconds. So those kind of things can improve performance in a really great way. But caching should be done only if the response is not going to change frequently. So in some only a certain use case, we can do caching. So Apigee has this caching, and cache resources are created on the environment level. Yeah, so these things are available on every environment, and we can use it. We will obviously study caching in depth, and we will also have a lab later on for caching, one of the advanced session later on. Now going through these entities, so these are for every entity, these are the scope of the entity. So you can see we see some entities are available on the org level, like users and roles are available only on the org level. Developer application products are there on the org level, and you can see virtual host, target servers, key store, trust store. These are available on the only environment level, so you can create only in the environment level. Open API specs are available on the org level. However, there is a plus sign like this. This means this feature is available on the Apigee cloud only. So this Open API specs editor and all of this is not available on the OPG private cloud, which is like hosted on the client or Apigee customer. So that is this feature is not on the on-premise version or private cloud version. It is only on the Apigee hosted cloud version. Then yeah, so we covered these API proxies, revisions, shared flows, and all of this. So yeah, and things like resource files, caches, key value maps. So resource files, key value maps, these are available on the all the levels, org level, environment level, proxy level. You can put in there, and then data masks are yeah, available on the org level and proxy level. So all these entities, depending on when how you want to use it, you can do that. We will see these entities later on in detail, and we will use them on uh, on our labs as well, and in certain scenarios. So that is just to get an overview on the concept of organization and environments. Let me showcase you something just to yeah quickly. So here in the admin, all these things we can do here. So in the environment, so all these things which we saw in the environments, all these entities are available here on the admin environments. If you see my screen here, so like you have caches, you can create cache resource here. So here you can select the environment from here. For example, caches. And from prod you can come to test, and you can check these cache resources here. You can create cache resources. We will cover all of them in detail just to get an over idea. So here you have the flow hooks. You can attach. You can from here you have to select the environment, and it will take you to that particular environment. So then we have the key value maps. So you can create your key value map and create the configuration on key value map. You have references like that. So this reference is for key stores and all those stuff. We will cover all of them, all of these things later on in detail anyways. The same thing we studied target server. So target server is the backend target configuration. And here you have key stores where you can upload the certificate, private key and all those stuff on there. So yeah, this is all of these things are there on the environment level. Roles, users, we already saw it is on the org level, and yeah, proxy revisions are on the environment level. So all these things. There is a virtual host also available on the environment level. So for every environment, you have to get virtual host. So here for prod, you have Apigee provides two. This is automatically done by Apigee. So Apigee creates two virtual hosts. Default is on port 80, which is HTTP, and secure is on port 443, which is HTTPS. And the format will be the org name. So my org name is Manish-eval. So that is the free org comes with the eval hyphen. So like evaluation org. So Manish-eval hyphen prod, and one for HTTP, one for HTTPS, and the same will be done in the test environment as well, which the host name will be different. So for example, in the test, so here you can say hyphen test.apigee.net in secure and default, both of them. So that way you can yeah create a virtual host and manage the environments and all those stuff. So yeah, this is just to get an overview. We'll cover those things in the detail, and once we study more and more advanced topics. So yeah, now moving to the next chapter where we are going to understand the basics of REST. So we'll start with some basics of REST just to understand the concept and what are the Apigee recommendations in terms of the REST standards and protocols. So yeah, in the So REST stands for representational state transfer. So the first time this word REST was used by Roy Fielding in his PhD dissertation. It was in late 90s, 97 or 99, something like that. So it was the late 90s. This concept was used. And REST basically is not a standard. REST is a architectural style. So REST is a more of an architectural style. It is not a standard. So REST uses plain HTTP protocol. So REST uses a standard HTTP. It is not a standard in itself. So in the REST, you use HTTP protocol to define your URL, define a method and resource paths and everything, query parameter resource path. So use standard HTTP protocol to define how you are going to access a resource. So what will be the URL for that particular resource? What will be the pattern of the URL? What will be the method, HTTP method to make a call? And what will be the uh, things like how you do authentication, authorization, security, and all those stuff. So you are only using plain HTTP protocol to define all of this. So obviously, because it is based on top of standard HTTP, so it is a common and very easy to understand design pattern for APIs. So we call them RESTful APIs. So for all the practical purposes, basically anything over HTTP protocol is REST, as simple as that. So REST is nothing but an HTTP protocol, anything on HTTP protocol. So even your Java servlets or PHP program, anything PHP, JSP, ASP, all of them are nothing but REST, because you are using standard HTTP protocol to call those particular URLs, as simple as that. So, so REST APIs communicate via standard HTTP protocol, and they adhere to the standard HTTP concept. So we here in REST we use plain HTTP, nothing else, just standard HTTP to define the URL, define the method, security, payload, everything, and use the standard HTTP protocol to communicate data. So in the REST, we used JSON for payloads. So that is the most common way. However, REST is not just limited to JSON, but JSON is the most popular way to send data payload or data, payload or data in request and response. But it is obviously not the only way. REST supports XML as well. REST support your plain HTTP, HTML form parameter as well, anything. So as I said, anything over HTTP is REST, as simple as that. So your normal form parameter, like you want to submit a form parameter, HTTP plain with form, HTML forms and everything, all those parameter, everything is allowed in the REST. So REST APIs are self-documenting and easy to understand for a developer. Okay, so if you are following the best practices, so if you follow the REST guidelines and best practices, then your REST API is self-documenting by looking at the URL, by looking at the request response parameter, by looking at the authentication mechanism or other response headers, everything. Anyone who want to consume your API, that person will easily understand. So that is the benefit of REST. So if you are doing it properly, you don't have to worry about spending a lot of time on documentation. These API are self-documenting. Just by looking at their definition or schema and all, people should able to understand without much explanation. So how we in a standard REST API, so this is how it looks like. So for example, it is resource oriented. So whatever resource you want to expose, you give the name of that particular resource or entity. So and here you use the noun, so the name of the resource. So for example, you want to work on orders, you will the URL will be in the URL path, you will have /orders. If you want to get a single order, work on the order with a unique identifier, so you want to get a single order based on the identifier of that, then you give orders/id. So order and order ID. So that will those that will be URL for the single order. So that is the defining entity. Now, which how you define what activity you want to perform on that entity. So in order to define the activity or operation that you want to perform, you also use HTTP method. So HTTP method, or we also call them HTTP verb. So HTTP verbs define how you are going to what operation you are going to perform. So if you want to do a retrieval in search or search operation on orders, then it will be get method on slash orders. So slash orders get, it will define that you are going to get an order. If you define slash order ID get, this means you are going to get or retrieve order based on the ID, kind of this thing. You want to do a create operation, you do a post. So you want to do a slash orders and post, this means it will be a create operation. So you are going to create an order. The because post uh, uh, does not when you are doing the post, at that time you will not have a order ID created, because you are going to create a new one. So in the post the order ID will not come, because in the post only will be slash orders, because you are going to create an order. In the response of the post only you will get an order ID in the JSON. Then you want to either do a update, and also you can do a put and patch. These are for update, and delete is for removal. So these are the standard verbs, and they have the specific meaning. So depending on which activity you want to perform on a certain entity, you can use them along with your resources. So with the resource and method combination, you define what activity you are going to perform. So just by looking at that, any app developer should understand. So here is an sample quiz. So here we have slash v1 customers in get. So what exactly are we trying to do here? So can you tell me?
Yeah, we are retrieving the customer's information.
Correct. We are retrieving customers, but it is a customer. So it will it be a object, or it will be a list?
Uh,
It's always be list of objects, list of customers. Like when you
Because
have the
because
when
we
you
see
have
on
the
the
names
customer
like
ID.
this, yeah.
Yeah, correct. So because we are working on the list here. Sorry.
It's a list of customers, right?
Yeah. So because we have not specified a customer ID here, so it will work on, it will give me the list of all the customers. It will give me list of all the customers here. So here is an example. So here is the example response. So in the entries, I will get list of all the customers. So a list of objects, because this is on all the customers. Then the same thing, if I add a customer ID here, so V1 customers customer ID, then what it will become, what it will do?
it comes only a 435 information.
But correct. So it will only give me that particular. So it will now be an object. In the object, I will get only the information about that particular customer ID. Yep. So in REST, this thing. So for every resource type, we usually have two primary URLs. One URL is on the collection, basically like slash employees. So that will be list on the list of employees, and another URL will be on the single entity. And in another URL, you specify the unique identifier or the primary key, or whatever you can call it. So you can call it a primary key or unique identifier or a resource identifier, kind of this thing. So that, but that is a unique identifier on which we define in the resource. And Apigee recommends using plural noun for collection names. So here we use the things like customers, employees, orders. We use things like in the plural nouns. I have seen some organizations and some companies, they prefer to have singular as well. So it is just a matter of their preference. However, both of them are right. It is not like there is nothing wrong in having a singular or plural. However, these are just yeah, this is just a matter of preference or a recommendation. So Apigee recommends using plural noun for collection names. However, even singular is fine. You can based on places, because I have seen all of them. And another very important thing on the REST. In the REST, we never have anything right or wrong. Okay, because REST is all about guidelines. We don't have any rules in REST. So REST APIs, they don't have any rules. So either it can be a good design or a bad design. So it is possible to have a good design or bad design. So if you are able to easily maintain, easily explain, and all those stuff, then it is all good. If you are not able to explain based on the API specification, and you are not able to do the maintenance, you are not able to perform any API upgrade later on, then obviously it is a bad design. However, there is nothing called right or wrong. It is always about good or bad. So even if someone uses employee or something, then it is their preference. Both of them are perfectly all right. As long as they are able to have a consistency, it is all fine. So I mean, we don't really have any a wrong thing in REST. It is all about following the standard practices and then being consistent with that. So in REST, we prefer concrete name over abstraction, and we should prefer standard names on over any internal company in terms. So for example, if you are giving a list of employees, because anyone who is going to consume your resource, that person might not be familiar with the internal company terminologies. So then they can use the term like you should use internal not sorry you should use the generic terms which are standard term for anything. So for example, internally you might call your employees like API geeks, but in when you are defining a REST to get all the employees, you should use slash employees. You should not use slash API geeks in the path, because it is like your internal to company, people might not understand. So more and more you use generic names or standard names, it is better for anyone. If the person who's coming from outside and they want to consume, that person can easily understand all of this. And this is what we just discussed some time back. So here we are using HTTP verb for the create, update, and delete operations. So for example, for resource type for slash dogs. So for slash dogs, if we are using post, it will create a new dog. If we are doing a get, which will do a retrieval of all the matching dogs, we are doing put or patch, it will bulk update because it is slash dogs. We are not specifying the dog identifier, so it will do a bulk update on all matching dogs. And delete will do a bulk delete. Now if we are doing dogs with 1 2 3 4, in that case the post is not valid, it will not do a create. We cannot do a create because we are already doing using a we are already using dog identifier in the path, so we cannot do a create because that dog already exists. Obviously, that is the assumption. Then only we will have this ID. Then get will do a retrieval. Put and patch will do update if they exist. If that ID is still valid, they will do a update, or else they will throw an error. And delete will do a delete. So delete will just do a deletion on based on that identifier. So that's how we define the dogs. I mean, this is using HTTP verb. And the verb should not be part of the URL. When I say verb, means the activity that we are performing, action that we are performing. So many times, because of the programming background, people think that is user active. It is a good name for your Java method. However, is user active should not be in the path of any REST resource. So it should not be like there. So we should just use the proper uh, uh, proper nouns. Only nouns should be allowed. Nouns and verb should be on the HTTP verb. So the get or put or post, those should define what we are doing. And if we are not, and if an API call that is not part of the standard CRUD operation, for example, standard create, update, delete, and you still want to do, then you can use query parameter. So like you can use query parameters to define what activity you are going to perform. So like action equal to feed, for example, here in the post, dogs action equal to feed. So you are not doing a create operation, but you are doing an action where you are going to feed the dog, kind of this thing for that particular dog. So that is what, so that those things we can do here, kind of this thing, but we should not use verbs in the URL. So URL should only have nouns, and URL should only have the and anything else you can do query parameters with all those query parameter. And obviously HTTP verb should define what activity you are going to perform. So the same thing that we saw the table previously. Now only thing is that with the dogs 1 2 3 4, in the post you can perform a non-CRUD operation. So non-create, update, delete operation, create, read, update, delete operation, and with the query parameter. So if you are using query parameter and it is not a standard create, read, update, delete, then you can perform that activity that is allowed. But a standard create you cannot do. Now there is another thing because we use both put and patch. Both of them are used for update. Now, but they both of them have their special meaning. Now patch is the partial update. So patch is used for partial update. So if you have like 20 fields, 15 or 20 fields, and you only want to update one field or two fields, then you can use patch. But if you want to do more than two, three, four, five, or six field out of those 10, 15, then we use put. And whenever we are doing put, so in whenever we are doing a put, we should send the whole object. We should send the whole resource object in the request. So and whatever is updated, obviously in your code we will update that. So whatever is supposed to be updated in the code, we can update that particular field, and which is not, and the things which are not updated, those will not be updated. So put is like a replace kind of this thing, where we send the whole object, and patch is just a partial update. We only pick one or two fields which we are going to update. So that is a difference. So put is the normal proper update, this thing replacing, and patch is just a partial update of one or two fields. So based on the requirement, we can do that. Now a very another thing which is very important is then when we are using a parameter or filter. So when we are doing any filter or search or those kind of operation where we have to filter based on parameter which are repetitive, means these are not a unique identifier. So those parameter which are not unique identifier, which are repetitive. For example, get a list of parks in a city, for example. So list all the parks within the city. So here the city will be city again, this thing, the park and everything, and city will be the city will be a kind of a repetitive thing for any all of them. So things which are repetitive, so those things, for those things we should put in the query parameter. So that's why, so for query parameters are defined like question mark. So we use question mark, and after question mark we write the query parameter. So in here example, you can say get slash dogs location, because location might be multiple repetitive thing. Location is park, color equal to brown, and state equal to running. So these are the parameter. So these fields are not the key attributes. I mean, because these are repetitive, these are the normal attributes and all those stuff, standard attributes which can be used to filter. So here those attributes should be in the query parameter. And if you are using only by unique identifier and all those stuff, then those can be in the path. So if you want to get all the parks, then you can get parks. Then you want to get dogs for each park, then you can have park identifier and then dog. And then you want to get dogs, then you can have dog identifier. And yep, and then you want to do any filter, all dogs for based on some filter query parameter and all those stuff, you can do all the complexity, because in the path you should only specify the unique key attribute or the nouns or unique identifier, that's it. So entities are their identifier, that's it, and not the attributes. So all the attributes or fields which are repetitive, those all of those should be in the query parameter. So like that. So the complexity should be defined this question mark. The question mark is like the separator between the path and the query parameter. And for multiple query parameter, we use ampersand. So query parameter one is location equal to park and color equal to brown. And so you can use we use and to have a multiple query parameter. Another important aspect here is the partial responses. So that is something which is, I mean, I have not seen it that much, but it is quite useful. And this is something where people should, try to implement. Now, what happens, especially when we are developing mobile applications, because mobile application uh, would have a sense, be more sensitive to the space, because the space issues will be there. So because obviously for mobile the space is not as much as any other thing. So what happens is the entities when we are having like a user record or something like that, there might be like 15, 20 fields, even more than that. Sometimes you get all the records of the user, all the big records might be there. Then data size, obviously, so whenever someone want to retrieve that, make a call, then the data size will be very huge. So you will have all this information, a lot of things, and sometimes not all the information is required. So you don't sometimes need all these 20 fields. You only need 4 or 5 fields. Then what we can do is, so if you want to query that particular record or you want to get a record, you can specify the fields in the query parameter. So for example, here I'm looking to get the detail about these employees, but fields can be specified in the query parameter, whatever fields we want. So the server should support this. So server should accept a query parameter name fields, and in the fields you can specify in the comma separated way. You can specify ID, full name, and all those stuff. So information which you only want, which you want, only those particular fields. So only those fields, and in the responses you can only specify those particular fields. So here you have ID, full name, and then geo dot latitude and geo dot longitude. So you have geo, in the geo you have latitude and longitude like this. So that way the geolocation and name and ID. So only these fields are responded. We are not sending all 20 fields. So that way, like in that way, it works better for especially for small devices, mobile devices and everything, where the space is major concern and all those stuff. And you are protecting your data also, data from exposure. So you're not sending a lot of data, you are only sending the data which is required. So that way you are even securing the data, some part of data which can be sensitive, so you are not exposing those kind of things. So that way you can with the help of partial responses, you can add some kind of security as well, and also you can even do the you can work around with the space restriction. So you can make sure that okay, you are not sending large unnecessary data. So space is saved, and it can be, so it can be quite useful. So yeah, so that is something which we can yeah, work on, or we can do take care of when we are doing the rest design. So we can support partial responses if possible. So yeah, this is just a slide and all those stuff. So yeah, so now, before we end, just we'll quickly cover this thing. This will be a very small part. So Open API specs is something that so Open API is the standard to define all the API design. It is not just on Apigee. For every company, they use Open API specification. So Open API specification is like a very easily human readable or machine readable, and you can define the specification using that. In the specification, you can define YAML or JSON format. So it supports both YAML format or JSON format. You can specify that, and you can define the API interface. So you can define the interface of the API. You can define all the paths which are supporting in your API, server name, base path, resource path, everything. And for every path, you can specify what are the operations. So operations is like your method, HTTP methods. You can have get, post, put, all those methods you can specify, and so that way you can define your API interface, or do the API design. And along with that, you can define the request and response format. So what will be the request format, what will be the response format. You can define every field, you can have example for every field, and you can have all the headers and all, response headers, request headers, everything you can define for your APIs. You can have all this authentication detail, caching details, anything that you want to do, you can define that with Open API specification. Apigee has this Open API specs editor. We will use that to in our lab as well later on. So here in Open API specs, Apigee comes with embedded Open API specs editor, and and also this is also used as a part of the live documentation, which is integrated with the Drupal developer portal. So sometime later on we will even cover. So Apigee comes with a Drupal module. In the Drupal, you can put these specifications in and use them for a live documentation, and internally they will call your Apigee, and a client can check your API consumer can check the specification. What they can make a call. They can test a sample response, and they get feel of what the API request and response will be like. All those things. And you can also Open API comes with there is a utility called Swagger Code Gen. With the help of Swagger Code Gen and all, you can even generate proxy stubs. So you can generate the stubs from them, and with the stubs you can create mock responses. With the help of these mock responses, you can work on your systems by the time your backend is available and all those stuff. So all these things can be done easily with the help of this open API specs and all. So the open API specs are completely. I mean, so this is like not just related to Apigee. So as I said, it is like a standard. It's now it is now a industry standard in terms of API design. So all the platforms, Apigee, MuleSoft, all the platforms which are there, all of them they start supporting. They have started supporting open API specs. Here, so just a brief history about that. So previously, we before 2010, we had things like WSDL. WSDL was for SOAP call. For SOAP APIs, we had WSDL. For REST, we had WADL. The WADL was the format, but WADL was very complicated. It was very complicated. It was difficult to understand. So they needed some pretty simple, straightforward way to define the APIs. So in 2020, the Swagger project was found, and in 2014, Swagger 2.0 was released, and the same Swagger was picked, and the same Swagger name was changed to Open API, and the Swagger 2.0 become Open API 2.0, and then in 2017, Open API 3 is released. So people use the term both Swagger, Open API, both of because the Swagger was the original name. So people use the word Swagger or people use the word Open API, but both of them are have the same meaning. Apigee supports both Swagger 2.0 and Open API 3.0. So Apigee supports both of them. So whatever is your preference to define your API, you can use them and define your API specification. So all of them this thing. For Swagger, you can go to there is a online editor as well. So people use this editor.swagger.io. This is the tool people use to define their open API specification or Swagger specification. So like this, you can go to this website. You can define those open API specification like that. So yeah. So you can so this thing, and if you want to study in depth on the Swagger, so you can go to their website. I think this is Swagger. I forgot the website name. Swagger.io. Okay, sorry. So Swagger.io, you can go through all these tools. You can study. You can hear these tools, and there are resources available. You can go through the specification and the documentation. What is this thing? What all this specification you can cover both 2.0, 3.0. People prefer to use 3.0 nowadays, but some people still use 2.0 and all the specification schema, what you allow, what you don't allow, and all those stuff. How you can define a schema and everything. So we use this in the reference purpose. So when we need a reference for API design, we refer this. We can go through all of them. And when you open this editor.swagger.io, automatically a sample Swagger will be created for you. So you don't really have to worry about how do I start from zero. And of this thing, a sample is there. In the sample, there is a pet store Swagger is given. So pet store API, and you can check that Swagger pet store API, and you can then modify that Swagger and make it as per whatever you want to build. So you can yeah, build the Swagger and yeah, use that and build Swagger open API specs and all. We will use open API specs in our lab and later on, and then we will see how to use that and how to modify those things. So at the time, I think you might understand it even a little better. But yeah, so yeah, this is about the API design, and we will see. Usually, when we are working with the Apigee, sometimes or a lot of times actually, the backend teams present their open API specification, because they will have their open API specification for backend. Then we use that, you build our APG proxy, and then we create our APG or modify the same open API specs to build our own APG open API specs and open API, so that and our APG can be then shared with the consumer. So this is a very useful way to design the APIs now. And with open API specs, this thing you can also, so this Swagger, so open API specs is used by multiple stakeholders. So usually the API lead or API architect, they define the open API specification. Then the developers who are building, developers will refer those to build their APIs. Then testing team will refer that and build their test cases. And then even when it is published on the portal, then the consumer who is going to consume the API, they will refer this as a documentation. And with this, you can even try sample call. So it has a mechanism to allow consumer to try sample call if you have specified your server and everything, and if you have specified your credentials and authentication mechanism, they can make a call using these open API specs. They can get a real time feel on how the API request and response work, and it really helps them to understand their API, and it helps them onboard quickly. So it is very useful tool, and that is why it has become now kind of a de facto standard for API design. Moving to the next set of security policies. So we have like JSON threat protection policy. These protect against malicious JSON payload. So if someone is trying to manipulate the JSON, incoming JSON, it will protect against that. Same we have XML threat protection, which will do the same for XML. Then we have regex threat protection, which will prevent against the regular expression and all those stuff. And then access control policies for IP based decisions. So IP blacklisting, IP whitelisting, and all those stuff. That is. Then we have mediation policies. So in mediation, basically manipulating the payload. So this is third category, where we are like manipulating the payload. So here we have the assign message policy, which will create variable and HTTP message elements and everything. And then we have extract variable, which is where we will extract the information from variable and put it in some for incoming request or response, and put it in some variable. And then we have key value map operations policy, where we can manipulate the key value maps and all. Okay, and then raise fault policy is to either this is to manually throw an exception. So if you want to manually throw any exception, so this is we use raise fault policy. So these policies are there. We will cover each policy in detail. So like we have now we have JSON to XML, XML to JSON policies. So this is a very useful, especially in our REST to SOAP, SOAP to REST conversion. So this policy can be used a lot. And then we have XSL transformation policy. But in order to use XSL transformation, you need to be very good with XSL. So XML style sheet and all the stuff. So this becomes like a quite a niche. So unless you are sorry, familiar with the XSL and XSLTs, you cannot use this policy. Then message validation or SOAP message validation policies to validate the SOAP request. If there is a SOAP request, we'll validate against XSD or schema and all those stuff. Okay, but or WSDL file and all. But again, this is very rarely used because Apigee is more out REST kind of thing. So we do not expose SOAP services through Apigee, at least not that I have seen. Okay, so this policy is very rarely used. Then next set of policies are extension policies. So here we have JavaScript extension policy to include a custom JavaScript, Java callout policy to execute a custom Java code. Service callout policy is used to call external services. So where we can call multiple services and combine the responses that we do in service callout. And then we have flow callout policy. So this policy is used to call a shared flow. So we create a shared flow which will have a common logic. But in order to execute the shared flow, we have to use this flow callout policy. This flow callout will call the shared flow in the runtime and execute it. So that policy is used there. Then in extension also we have message logging policy. So remember one thing, Apigee does not log the payload by default. So by default Apigee does not log the payload and all. Okay, so we have message logging policy. So message logging policy will log the information to a syslog server. So most of the time we have syslog server like ELK or Splunk or Logstash, Kibana, dashboard, Splunk or Sumo Logic. There are many syslog servers. So you can put those Apigee request or response logs into those syslog server. Okay, so this message logging policy does that. It can connect with any syslog server and put the log there. Then we have statistics collector policy. this policy, if you want to put any custom data in analytics, because analytics capture a lot of data anyways, so we don't need, most of the time we don't really need. However, due to business requirement, in case we have to manually add few things in the request or something to static to what you say analytics, then you can use statistics clutter policy. Then we have extension call out. So extension call out will it will call some other Google Cloud or other services. So those are extensions. So it will call those extensions. Okay. So these are like policies. There are like some other policies also nowadays, because Apigee is now evolved. But those are, these slides are a little bit old. But yeah, these are at least most of the policies are these which we use. For example, now Apigee also has a HMAC policy and this open API spec validation. So where you can put open API spec of the request and you can validate that. Okay. So then we have yeah, we can attach policies. You can say, so most of the time what we do is security policies are the one which are more common to apply. So we attach those security policy is in the pre-flow, because those are the common ones. Then like extracting the request response payload or anything like this, okay, those are we put it in the custom conditional flow, so it can extract the request response fields, or it can do the validation and all those stuff. Those are there. And then yeah, any transformations are usually either in the conditional flow or in the target section we can put it. So depending on the requirement, you can put it there. Okay. So again, the applying the policies is completely depending on the business requirement, and based on that only we put. Okay. So here there is one example of the flow config in Apigee. This is the XML representation of the flow. So for example, here in the request we have a verify API key policy. So this is the policy for you can see it is in pre-flow request. Step is the tag for policy. Step is the tag. Okay, step or policy is the same thing. So step tag is used in the policy, and then here there is a flow. In the flow we have conditions, so like if the proxy or path suffix equal to slash order and request were equal to get. So if it is like get and orders, then you come inside this flow. So here also in the flow we have a one policy, extract variable policy. This is like extract filter. So any filter variable in the query param, if the filter is not null, then it will extract the filter. So here you can put condition inside the policy, inside the flow, inside the route rule. So you can put condition anywhere, and based on wherever it were put, you can, it will control the flow. Okay, it will control if the policy or this flow or this route rule will execute or not. Now in Apigee, how to choose a naming convention. So if you are like a new to a, I mean, if the project is newly started, okay, and you have control on how to define the naming and all. So this is the Google official recommendation from Google Cloud. Okay, that when we are creating the policy name, so name should be like combination of two things. One is the abbreviation. Okay, abbreviation of the policy type. Okay, so for example, VAK like verify API key, AM assign message, so like this, the abbreviation policy type, and the activity that is this. Okay, so activity that it is doing. So what activity it is doing, you have to specify. So like VAK hyphen verify key means it is verify API key policy verifying key. AM remove header like removing header. Assign message build request. OR2 verify token, OR2 generate output, JOS policy clean response. So those kind of things we can do. So we can define all these. Then we have so now a little bit on the pattern matching operators. So in the pattern matching we have matches, right? So matches operator, either you can use this word matches there, or you can provide this. This is the operator. This is the operator that is used, okay, in Apigee. If you are giving matches, so what it will do is it will for example, if you define cats without any star, if you define slash cats, it will do exact match. So cats only, there is no star, so it will act as a normal exact match. Then you have a star, cat star. So anything which with a slash cat, anything comes after slash cat, it will match. Now here also there is one thing. So if you are giving a apostrophe, sorry, this thing, it is case sensitive. So it is also case sensitive. So if you are giving small a, so if, sorry, capital A, if you define capital A with the star, so it will small a will not match. So it is case sensitive. And if you want to treat star as a star character, not as a wild card, because by default Apigee will treat star as a wild card, But if I were to treat this asterisk as a this thing as a asterisk, okay, normal asterisk character, then you can use percent asterisk. So like percent will be a escape character. So if it will match with the star ATS like this, it will not match with the cats or something. Okay, so it will treat star as a star character. So you can use percent as a escape. Java ranges you can ignore because I have never seen anyone use it, and that is a different also. So it is like very different from other operators. So I have never seen anyone use this thing, so you can ignore that. Next is the matches path. So matches path operator, or like this is the operator sign, operator sign like this. Either you can use the word matches path, or you can use the word like this operator. Okay. So here matches path will usually be used star or double star. So if you are using slash star here, so after cats you have a slash and then a star, it will not match with cats because it will look for slash also, right? So it will look for slash also. So cats, then it should have a slash. So that's why it will not match this. But if it is cats slash, if the slash is there, then it will match. If a single star, it will match with the cats slash and cats slash any identifier. So it will match one segment. So star will match one segment, okay, and it will not, if there are multiple segment, it will not match. However, if you want to use multiple segment match, more than one segment, use double star. So double star can match up to 2, 3, 4, whatever. More than one you can match. So it will match one also, okay, and more than one also. So double star is like 1 and 1 plus, and single star is only 1. Okay, so we use single or double star depending on the requirement.